Olá a todos, bem-vindos a mais um projeto da Associação MVC. Desta vez, o nosso novo projeto chama-se Let's Talk, em português, Vamos Conversar. Este projeto surgiu em parceria com a instituição OIP, Oeste International Partners, e consiste em haver uma conversa semanal entre um estrangeiro e um português. A conversa será realizada em inglês ou na língua que seja mais acessível a ambas as partes. E será uma conversa fluida sobre costumes, experiências, gostos em comum, todos os temas que possam imaginar. Bem-vindos a este novo projeto Let's Talk. Vamos conversar? Hello everybody, welcome to a new project from Associação MVC. This time our new project is called Let's Talk, in Portuguese, Vamos Conversar. This project appeared from a partnership with OIP, Oeste International Partners, and it consists in a weekly conversation between a foreigner and a Portuguese person. These conversations are going to be natural, about experiences, common tastes, and all the themes you can imagine. Welcome to this new project.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Sophia.
Hello, Tracy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Hello, everybody.
Would you like to start?
No, please. You first.
Oh, thanks. Well, my name's Tracy, and I live in Caldas de Reina, and I am a volunteer with MVC and with OIP.
I'm Sofia. I was born in Caldas da Rainha. Now I'm living in Alcochete. I work as a flight attendant, but I'm sorry, my English is not so good at the moment because I'm not speaking for a few years. I will do my best, I promise. We are going to talk about animals. That is a hobby that we have in common, helping animals in shelters. I live in Alcochete at the moment. I am helping cats. And you, Tracy, do you help any shelter?
Yes, we've got a shelter here in Caldas de Reina called Crapper, mostly a dog shelter. They do take in the odd cat, but mostly dogs, and they take them in, they vaccinate them, give them all their flea and tick treatments, try and get them sterilised, and then hopefully adopted. We have a dog from there, Mr. Charlie. He's about 8 years old now, but we've had him 3 years, I think, now. So, and they do a lovely job, really good job. Yeah.
And now with all COVID and everything, do you feel that adoptions that people are adopting as well, or are you feeling troubles?
I think that Crapper, I don't think have had too much trouble all through the pandemic. Quite a lot of their dogs go to Holland and Belgium, I believe. So they go on a special doggy transport. But they have a huge turnover, and they have a waiting list for the animals to go in every day.
So that's very good.
Somebody
Really nice.
will be on their Facebook page saying, I found this dog, or we've got this dog in distress, can you take him? And unless it's an extreme case of abuse or something, they usually have to go on a waiting list because they just haven't got the room. So, and of course, every dog costs a lot of money. By the time you've given them their vaccinations and you've given them their flea and tick treatment, and they've all been sterilised, it's easily a couple of €100 per animal. And of course, during the pandemic, there's been little or no fundraising. We haven't been able to do the tabletop sales or the coffee mornings or anything else that goes on. So like everybody else, they've been struggling.
We feel the same in Alcochete, in this case with the cats. We try to find colonies there and we try to catch the females so that we can sterilize them before they got pregnant. Or if they are already really pregnant, we try to catch them so that they can have the babies at home. And after the babies have 8 weeks old, more or less, we try to give them for adoption and then sterilize the mother. And if she is good for adoption, we will try to find her a home. But if she isn't, she will be returned to her colony. And all these have a lot of costs. Animals that have diseases, and the sterilization, the medicines, the food for the babies, good food, so that they can be strong. And we all depend on donations. and it's been hard. But we are trying.
It's been difficult, yes.
Our best. So, did you have experience before in UK or in other countries in this life of
we lived in Spain. We used to help out at a shelter there, and we had 2 rescue dogs from Spain in the 10 years that we were there, taking in slightly older dogs, because the puppies are always popular. Puppies go first. The older dogs get left behind, or the injured dogs. Our female was quite badly injured. She'd been knocked down by a car or a truck at some point, and her hip had been broken, and it had healed itself. It had calcified, so they couldn't operate. So in effect, she only had 3 legs.
Okay.
So we took her in.
She had to take her leg.
The leg was in situ. It was there, but she couldn't use it. It was just there. So we had her, and then we also had a greyhound. So we've had some.
Greyhounds are really common in Spain, aren't they?
Yes, unfortunately, they use them for hunting.
Yes.
And when the hunters are finished with them,
they just abandon.
Well, the best case scenario is that they abandon them. The worst case scenario, I couldn't even start to talk about on here, because 1, it makes me angry, and 2, it makes me too upset. So yes, but there is slowly a motion in Spain coming in where they're trying to ban the use of greyhounds. There's already been a couple of petitions that actually have gone through Parliament, so that's a good thumbs up for there. So
we have a question here from Ana Frazão, and she's asking what she needs to do to adopt a cat or a dog. In the case of this cat shelter that I'm helping in Alcochete, you have a form that you have to fill and answer some questions, and then the girls will see the form and will contact you. It is Gatos da Vila, if you want to check on Facebook. And to adopt a dog, maybe Tracey can answer you better.
To adopt a dog, you have to, well, first of all, obviously, you go down to the shelter, have a look at the dogs down there, see if there's something that tugs on your heartstrings. You fill in a form, and then they do a home visit to make sure that you have suitable accommodation, because there's no point in having a huge dog in a tiny apartment. Obviously, a big dog would need a big garden. A little dog you could have in an apartment. And then once the home visit has been done, for myself, when we took Charlie from there, we had him for about 4 or 5 days before the paperwork was finalised, just to make sure that we got on okay with him and he got on okay with us. And then the paperwork is stamped and signed off, and he's yours. So.
And talking about adoption, I think that shelters have a lot of expenses in Portugal, as we have said before. And there is not a big adoption fee here, because as there are so many animals for adoption, because the birth rate is not controlled, if shelters put a fee, maybe people wouldn't adopt. I would like to know if, by your experience, you are from UK, do they have a fee for adoption in UK?
In the UK, they do, yeah, definitely. I don't know of any shelters. There may well be some, but all of the big shelters, the PDSA, the RSPCA, Battersea, which is a huge shelter in London, there is a fee to take an animal from any of these big shelters. And it's really, it's done as a protection for the animal as much as anything else. If you have to pay to take an animal, I think you want that animal a bit more than perhaps on a whim, or just on a, oh, he's nice, I'll take him home. Oh, I shouldn't have got it, really. Whereas if you're paying for the animal, you put a bit more thought into it.
I agree with you. Even if it was a symbolic donation, I think that people would see the animal more as something which life depends on them, and it's their responsibility, and not something that it is so easy to have that it can motivate adoption by impulse. Not so you didn't think about it so much, and it will be easy to abandon after that. And I think we have a big problem with abandon in Portugal. And that's...
also, it costs the shelters an awful lot of money. When they take a dog in, Crapper is really the only one I can talk about that I know. They vaccinate the animals. They give them their flea treatment. They give them their tick treatment. They may need an operation. They get checked over by the vet, and they get sterilised, and they get a microchip. That's it's equating for the very basic. It's about 200
most of the shelters do.
Yeah,
most of the shelters do.
It's about 200 euros an animal. They can't keep paying out for all the animals and not getting anything back. People should, maybe not everybody can afford, a big fee, but I think people should be made to pay something relative to their income and what they can afford to take the animal and to help towards the costs. So,
and if I think even the city mayor should have a campaign for sterilization and vet cares that people could afford easily. Am I speaking correctly? Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
I think, okay. And if they have a big campaign for to sterilize animals, I think that would be a huge help for shelters that most of the time support that cost by donations from people that are not shouldn't.
I believe here in Caldash that they do have a program of sterilisation, but I can't speak personally about this, but I have seen people writing about it on social media, saying that although the program is there, they don't like to do it, or they struggle to get the council or municipal vet to actually do the sterilizations. But I don't know if that is correct. So
we also have a bit of a cultural problem. There are a lot of people who still feel that sterilize a dog hurts her, or it's anti-natural and they shouldn't do that. So in a lot of rural areas, people still do the birth control after birth, killing them. And for me, it is nonsense, because if you really want to take care of an animal, you will get a way to afford the sterilization. But for most of people from that places, it is natural. It is something that has to be done, and I think that we need to change that that mind.
Yeah,
we need to
definitely
change that.
We have another question coming in. What are your feelings about dogs being chained up outside 24 hours a day? I have to be very ladylike here and say I disagree with it. I don't like it at all. Yes, you can have a dog as a guard dog, but they still should be able to run free within the. They should not be chained up. End of story. I'm sorry.
We
no
should.
dog
We should. Yeah. As a developed country, we shouldn't allow this at all.
No.
And I think we are running for that direction.
I think we are, but
slowly.
again, and only from what I've seen on social media, but people do report dogs that are chained up or that are in a very poor condition, and it's not followed up, or the GNR, or is it SEMPRA? They're not really interested. They say, well, it's not really our problem. And so people stop reporting it, and that's sad as well. It's sad. If I had my way, I'd go around with a pair of chain cutters and just cut them all off.
How many dogs do you have, Tracy?
I only have the one. We've just recently moved from an apartment to a house with a garden. So never say never. There's every possibility that Charlie may be getting a friend. So.
I have 2 dogs and 3 cats.
Wow.
and I also receive pets as a temporary family, mainly cats now, but sometimes dogs as well. I have taken care for a litter with a few days, giving them milk.
It's a good job you're not close to Powdash, because I've been hankering after a kitten for ages.
So Margaret is asking something. Guard dogs are less aggressive when they are sterilized. I believe that guard dogs aren't really guard dogs. They are dogs with some problems, because I think dogs are not aggressive by their own. They can be aggressive because they are in fear, because they were trained to do something more aggressive, but they are not naturally aggressive. But I will let you answer that, Tracy.
I agree with you. Was it said guard dogs are less aggressive when they are sterilised? No, that's rubbish. I think if they're trained and they're trained properly, for example, take a police dog. A police dog is well trained and it's well looked after. It can do its job very well, chasing, I don't know, a thief or a suspect or whatever. But they're all sterilised, so that's a nonsense. So I don't think our dogs are less aggressive when they are sterilised.
Yes, the aggressive dog is not due sterilization or not. Is some issues that have to be handled.
Yeah, Fred's saying it's people are the problem, not the dogs, and I totally agree with that. I think he's spot on there. So because well, dogs are like children, aren't they? If you have a dog from a puppy, it learns from you, the same as your son learns from you, and they learn what is right and what is wrong and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. But if they're not taught it, then they don't know. So you can't ever blame the dog. You have to blame the humans, I think.
In a perfect world, people would only adopt with the proper training before. I know
Yes.
there are countries where this already happens, like in Netherlands and I believe Germany, where we cannot see street dogs there. And people who want to adopt or want to have a dog, they must have this training before. And in a perfect world, that would happen in every country. In the UK, do you see dogs on the streets usually? Like in Portugal?
Never say never. Yes,
Okay.
it does happen. It would be fickle of me to say that it doesn't, but it doesn't happen as much.
Okay.
It doesn't happen as much. And dogs are more likely, I think, in my opinion, to live in the house than to live outside in the UK as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It's different. We've got another question coming in from Joy. Can you see that?
Do you think the younger Portuguese generation are changing their ideas about how they keep dogs? Yes, I do believe. I do believe that it's slowly changing. In my parents' generation and before, it was okay and perfectly acceptable to have a dog all the time chained in the backyard. And now I can see all my friends have dogs and they have the dogs at house with them. They live as family, and we can walk in the park and we will see that most of the dogs are treated like family. And we have a lot of campaigns for sensibilization about the feelings of the animals. And yes, I do believe that we are slowly changing that.
Well, I let you have that one as you're Portuguese. It's not really for me to answer that, but well done. Yeah, I agree with you though. I do think that like everything, the next generation always do something a little bit different to their elders, and so it is slowly changing. So I know at the shelter, it's mostly younger people that are coming in as volunteers. Students from the college come in and help and walk the dogs, and and it's good because they're all getting educated at the same time. So yeah.
And with the social media nowadays, we are much more aware about violence against animals, and people are always watching, and there is a feeling of what is correct to do with them and what is not. And we are changing in a good way, I believe.
Yes, you are. Yes. And like everything takes time to change. And I think sometimes, especially when there's suffering involved, you want it done immediately. And that is never going to happen in the real world, unfortunately. So.
And for that cats association, for example, when we are trying to catch cats to treat them, there is a lot of people who helped us. And but when we have problems, and we have problems sometimes with people that live nearby the colonies, usually they are older people that feels that we are doing something bad for the cats, and that they love to have litters and litters there, baby cats all over the place. But after the cats are born, they don't care about them. They don't treat them. They just let them be there. And if they die, okay, that is nature. That's how they think. And we are trying to change that mentality.
Yes.
And sometimes we cannot do more because people don't let us do more. And usually when we have problems, it's older people, not younger. But we also have a lot of older people that help us a lot. So it depends.
Yes.
Just about the changing of mind.
Yeah, it depends how the older people's parents were, or what they were brought up with believing as well, I think, doesn't it? So,
yes,
you know,
it depends on their own.
Yes,
of course.
You can't change everything straight away, as much as we would love to. Just walk out there and say, every dog has a home. No dog lives on a chain. No cat lives on the street to get pregnant and have 10 litters of kittens, one after the other. You know, what a wonderful world that would be if we could do that, but we can't. So we just have to keep doing what we're doing and hoping that a little bit of good rubs off on somebody else and they'll pass it on as well.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, yeah.
How can people help the shelters we are volunteer? With donation. In my case, you can go to Gatos da Vila and you can in Facebook, and you can give donations. You can give baby food. You can give sand for the cats. You can also give things like cleaning stuff. It's always needed, and we live on donations, so it's something where we can afford.
And pretty much really the same with Crapper. They will always appreciate food and dog biscuits and cleaning stuff, collars, leads. Sometimes they break, or if you want to do a bit more than that, there's always help needed at the shelter. Maybe to clean the kennels out, maybe to walk the dogs. They are desperately trying to build some new shelters. So anybody that perhaps has got some building skills or is just really good with their hands to help do the building work or landscape the gardens or do some painting, or it's a huge plot that they have, but there's an awful lot that needs doing down there, and any help is always appreciated. At Crapper, there are people there every morning from 9 till 12, which is probably the best time to go. And then there are people around in the afternoons as well, because people go back to walk them, give them their supper and medications and whatever. But the mornings is probably better.
Okay, so I think we are almost finishing.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions? Or
I don't. Can we sit for a minute and see if we get anything else coming? Oh, hang on a minute. Tracy, do you try to socialise the dogs? Hi, Fred. Yes, there is one lady that goes down and helps with the dogs. Mostly it's down to the volunteers, and it's a bit trial and error when the dogs first come in. They might try a dog in one pen and it doesn't get on with one particular dog, so they'll move it around until they find a pairing that works. Again, Fred, it's time. Time, and we could do with more people, and there's not enough. There really isn't at the moment. Hours in the day. If we have 4 volunteers in the morning, 2 are on cleaning, 2 are on walking and feeding, that's the morning disappeared before you've got chance to even think about doing anything else. Then you might have a couple of vet runs to do, taking them for a sterilisation or to have stitches out or an operation or an x-ray or a scan or so it's a constant ongoing effort, and any help at Crapper will always be very much appreciated.
And everyone can help, even if they have only time for walking the dog. that would
Yeah.
be a good help,
Yes.
even if they cannot spend so much time doing volunteering. That would be
and
great
the
for
dogs
that
love
dog.
they love to go out and have a walk. You can see on their Facebook page, a lot of the volunteers take photographs and little videos, and it's lovely. It's really nice, and they like the one-to-one, which is the only time they really get a little bit of one-to-one, is when they're out walking with the volunteers. So yeah.
And it's a good training for. It's a good training for for socialize the dogs.
Yeah.
Before they get adopted, and it's really good.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely. So,
Tracy, thank you so much. Nice to meet you. You're lovely.
And you. Take care. Have a lovely week.
I hope I can meet you personally someday.
Absolutely.
In the near future.
Maybe I'll see you on a flight to Ireland one day.
Thank you. I hope so.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.